offer prayers for healing because we know people suffer. And we, as I mentioned earlier, we're at a 2-day board retreat under the leadership of our president, Robert Resnick. We have been dealing with strategic planning and what does it mean to figure out what our priorities are and how to move forward with them. And one of the things that came up actually at the retreat in private conversation is that given that elections are on Tuesday, what is the synagogue's role in the elections? What is the not campaigns? What is the synagogue's role, given that people are really hurting around this? People are really struggling around this time. There was a poll done that said well over 50% of Americans are moderately to very stressed because of the elections this year. And Tuesday, it happens. Friday, we're back here. What is the role of a synagogue? And several people have said, rabbis, what are y'all prepared to do on Friday? Thank God it's a family service, and we have a band, and we have kids, and no one has to talk. But I think this week's Torah portion, actually, for me, we study a lot about this parsha. This parsha is one of the most famous, right? It's Noah. It's a flood story. In the ancient Near East, there was a flood story in every single culture. So those of us who go to rabbinical school, we learn the Mesopotamian flood story, and we learn, the Egyptian version of what that looks like, and we learn the Sumerian and the Ugaritic flood stories. And what's the point? What's the Jewish take on that? And that's what we're always asking. What's the Jewish take on that story? How did we take what was already there and reconstruct it? That's what we do. We reconstruct. And so in my study with the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, I'm going to just teach you, not my words, I'm going to teach you from Rabbi Yael Shai, with whom I studied last year, her teachings around the Torah portions. And when I looked back at that, I thought, this speaks to me right now as the rabbi of a congregation, as the leader in a community that's really, like all of us, struggling, like every community right now in America is struggling. We're hurting. How does Parshat Noach relate to our situation right now? All right. Step number 1. God said to Noach, the end of all flesh has come before me. The earth has become full of Hamas. Do you know the word Hamas? Yes, you do. The world has become full of Hamas, and because of that, I am destroying everything. So, step number 1, recognize that it's happening. Recognize and own that it's happening, that it's real, that there's something really, really difficult happening for us right now as a nation. The conversation, in some ways, is broken down. The rhetoric has gotten so hot and so angry and so hateful, right? Recognize what's happening. Step number 1. Because what we want to do is bury our heads in the sand, right? And say, I have other things to do. I don't really have to think about flood. What flood? It's a sprinkle. It's a spritz. It's nothing. So notice what's happening. Number 2. And I will set up my covenant with you. And you shall come into the ark, you and your children, and your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And for you take for yourself from all edible things that are eaten, and gather it unto you. It shall be for you and for them for eating. So you must figure out a way to take care of yourself and those around you. Because it's happening. It's real. So step number 2 from our Torah portion this week is build an ark and fill it with things that are nourishing and good. Things that will feed and keep alive and sustain those around us that we love and that we care about and that we want to protect and preserve. We must figure out a way to take care of ourselves and to take care of those around us. Step number 3. And I will set up my covenant with you. And you shall come into the ark, you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. Because the storm has arrived. It's here. And 40 days and 40 nights locked in an ark is a really long time. And it feels like forever. Because when we're in it, when we're suffering, when we're hurting, when we're scared, when we're lonely, when we don't know where to turn, 40 days and 40 nights, as we know, is an eternity. It's forever. That's all we can see. And the instructions, says Rabbi Yael Shai, are very similar to how to survive a riptide. Don't panic. Don't try to fight the current that is taking you away from shore. Instead, soften your body, swim parallel to the shore, wait for the tide to release its grip, which it always will eventually. Can we do that? Can we figure out a way, as hard as it is, as scary as it is, as challenging as it is, can we figure out a way to relax and swim parallel to the shore until the riptide lets go? Because if we fight, if we swim toward shore and keep fighting, we know what's going to happen, right? We're exhausted. We're depleted. We deplete everyone around us because we need more and more and more from them. And we're unable to do number 2, which is to nourish ourselves and those around us. Step 4. Being in great distress, Noah prayed to God to shorten the time of his suffering. This is a Babylonian Talmud quote. That Noah turns to God and says, okay, I know it's going to be bad, I know it's going to be hard, but can you at least make it shorter? Master of the universe, surely it's in your power to make it not so bad, to make it not so long. Whether help is from a professional, a friend, or from God, nobody can make it through the storm without support, says Rabbi Shai. Sometimes the simple word help is the most important thing we can say. I cannot solve this myself. I don't know how this is going to end, and I am terribly afraid. Help. So when we're afraid, when we're scared, when it's all getting kind of crazy around us, where do we turn? To whom do we turn? Do we have professionals in our lives to whom we turn? Do we have rabbis, best friends, teachers, dogs, beaches? Where do we turn to say, I need support, I need help getting through this? And if we can't do that, we're doomed. Like, we know that. Can we find a way to turn to each other and not have to be always the ones who figure it out by ourselves, alone, that we can muscle through it, that we can turn to one another and say, I'm scared, it's hard, I need help. And number 5, as you locate dry land, move gently. It takes 14 days, says Rabbi Shai, from the time the rains end to the time Noah sets foot back on dry land. Elizabeth Swatos, author of the graphic novel My Depression, describes this period of time as surviving a little at a time. She illustrates small things like the ability to taste tomato sauce, thread a needle, or hear a bird as signposts of this gentle return to recovery. The rainbow, that bent shape of beautiful light, is our version of this triumphant picture. We made it. And once we've made it through total destruction, future storm clouds won't look so ominous. We will know what to do. We will dust off our survival guides, comfort those around us, and get to work. Can we, right now, do what we have to do to survive a little at a time? Can we taste the small things and be grateful for them? Can we remind ourselves, however hard this is and however hard it's been, that we have a peaceful exchange of power every 4 to 8 years. Not many countries have that gift. As hard as this is, as awful as it's been for so many people, we have a peaceful transfer of power every 4 to 8 years. Can we just stop and rest in the moments of small grace, awarenesses of grace? And do you know what the word for grace is in Hebrew? Who knows what the word for grace is in Hebrew? Oh my gosh. Chen. Because we don't think of grace as a Jewish word. We don't think of that as a Jewish word. But it so is. Chen is grace. What's this week's Torah portion? Noach. Guess what? If you take Noach and you spell it backwards, what do you got? Chen. can we take the challenges that we're given, even when they feel catastrophic, even when they feel that they're going to drown us, that they will kill us because they are too painful to have to face? Can we take those and see the reflection, which is chen, grace, that we treat one another, we treat ourselves, we treat the moments in life that we have that are given to us that are special with grace and gentleness and appreciation and gratitude and beauty. I have a bat mitzvah coming for my daughter on Thanksgiving weekend this year, and I'm so aware of the challenges that feel like they will overwhelm us and kill us, raising teenage girls who are a reflection of ourselves, and bat mitzvah and Thanksgiving. We have to figure out a way to hold them together, because that's the only way we will survive the one and really appreciate the other. I wish you Shabbat Shalom.